Hey everyone, this is Carol. Okay, I'm going to be kind of incognito here for a moment. I need you to subscribe because I am desperately trying to get more people than my son has. And so I need you to subscribe down there on the little skill check mark, and then you'll get notifications every time I do a free webinar. So please, we really need you. I need to beat him out somehow. So help me out here, and it'll help skill check too. And if you have any ideas for webinars, please let me know, and then I can get working on those too. Thanks a lot. Bye. Welcome. This is Carol Mixon from SkillCheck, and I'm going to be talking today about on-site selling strategies. So let's get started. You know, the important aspect of selling on-site is to really learn to sell and aim for success. And I think most people would do that anyway. But part of that success is to be confident in what you know and knowing your product, and to improving your communication skills also, and to understand your customer. And that's not always easy. And because we have such a variety of people that actually use storage, it does make it a little interesting at times. And really being stellar at sales and service and organizing yourself for success, and never to stop training, because training really does keep your skill level high. And no matter how many times you've heard something, I mean, I go to conventions and I listen to people and I'm thinking, yeah, I forgot, I don't do that very often anymore. I should do that again. And I just and I other people come up with new things. I'm thinking, I'm trying that. I've got to do that. That's awesome. So I watched some ladies on YouTube yesterday and they made their handwriting into calligraphy. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to put it in some of my presentations, and I'm going to organize my closet with it also. But because I've got this really nice handwriting, so I figure I'm going to use that. But you never know where you're going to find things and things that are interesting. So I just try to get all those things that I can, but never stop that training, because you want to keep moving forward. Wow, competitive markets can be really difficult. And over the years, I've thought sometimes, I'm like, oh, how am I gonna fight this? And one in particular was a store in Hawaii. It's on Oahu, and it was, at the time, it's called Self Storage One. And there was just a whole lot of new construction going into Hawaii on Oahu, because the mini storage messenger had put out a thing, the place with the lowest amount of storage was actually on Oahu, or in Hawaii. And so we had 13 stores that came in with over 100,000 square feet on a little small island. And it was crazy, and it really made it tough for us to do business. But I have to tell you, and I'll probably go into this later on too, but the 10 by 10s were $460, which is awesome, right? But when that public storage went next door, I thought, what am I going to do? Am I going to discount, maybe give incentives? What am I going to do? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to hold steady as I can. I'm going to do as the best I can. And I lost about somewhere around 100 customers during that time. And it was a big place. This store is fairly big. We had, I think, a little over 1,000 units. So, but still, we lost a big chunk of customers, but I got them back, most of them. In fact, a lot of them were our pharmaceutical reps that went over there, because it was air conditioned. Ours was air cooled, but not air conditioned. But anyway, so I got most of the people back because we had a dumpster for recycle, and public storage wouldn't do that. So that's sort of out of their little realm. They said, oh, I'm sorry, we're not going to have a special trash receptacle just for you all. And we did. And so I got most of those people back, at least 80 we got back. So think about things like that. When you're in competitive markets, especially against a REIT or publicly traded company, you can outmaneuver them, I believe. So when you're also talking about, having a lot of competitors, you need to do rate surveys, because they are constantly changing their rates. And you want to know what you're up against also. You want to, if you're air conditioned, if you have video surveillance and you have long gate hours more than someone else, find out what your advantages are over your competitors. And you really need to visit them, because look at these two competitors. They're totally different. If your store was on the top, That store is beautiful. I developed that store because that's why it's so cute. And then the second one is it's an older store, but I can tell you I have managed those older stores also, and I can still win with a great manager there because it's all about the manager and how well they take care of their customers and giving great customer service because the product is older. But when you have a nice new property, boy, you have to sell that. You want to talk about your drive-up spaces, your air conditioning, your security, the video surveillance, the long access hours that customers have. And you want to visit those close competitors on a fairly regular basis. Or if you hire someone new, before they ever start in the store, get them out to all your competitors that are close within your radius, whatever that is. It might be 8 miles, it might be 2 miles. And that depends on how many competitors are in your area. But remember, check those rates regularly because the REITs, the larger companies, they're going to be out there changing those prices daily. And I know that sounds strange, but it really has changed from, when I'm circa 1980 and we're doing all the hand changes, or we're doing all of the rate changes by hand. We have to go to the store to make the changes, and it's just totally different now. It's all electronic. Most of those are algorithms coming out of the large companies, the public companies. They're changing those rates regularly to try to maximize the profitability of their investments. So be aggressive if you can, for sure. Communication. Aiming for success. You want a win-win with customers. You don't want to have something set up where you already know you're going to have a conflict with the customer. So make it quick and easy to rent. That seems to be a fairly easy process, and especially if during COVID conditions, we want to have kind of sometimes the littlest access we can with each other. So you want to be able to rent online, to be able to move in without a whole lot of interaction with anyone. And you also want to remember, be positive when you're giving out rules and regulations. I put it, be a good neighbor instead of, rules and regulations. I just changed it. I was like, and then I made it all positive. Remember to, don't forget, and try to, keep your dog in the car. Don't bring your dog to the storage place, and don't let your kid run and get hit by a car. So, and find out why customers want and need self-storage, because that will be indicative later on of where you're going to advertise and to help you in your marketing. The conversions from the phone to the visit to the rental are so critical. We know a great deal about the phone sales and the techniques and getting that customer through the door. First, you have to build rapport with the customer. You have to give them a reason to visit you, right? And you want to outsell your competitors. And that may be offering incentives to visit. It may be trying to make the whole process easier than other people are making it. We want to make it as easy for a person to rent with as little contact as possible, which was totally opposite of what we would do before. So now we have to figure out how to do that. So you want to get the customers to the site. You want to have a good sales presentation, and you want to avoid complacency. Because if you're complacent about everything that you do in the whole process of renting, it's going to be a problem. You want to have a positive attitude towards all customers. It's really important because you can't just think, oh boy, look who's coming now. This is going to be a problem tenant. Sometimes, you judge them before they even walk through the door. I have to say, I had a guy that walked in, looked like Willie Nelson. He had a vest on and no shirt underneath that leather vest, and he drove up on a motorcycle, and I thought, oh boy. And he said, hey, do you guys have 24-hour access? And I'm like, and the manager, she's handling it. I was there working with her, and she said, well, we do have 24-hour access, but we need to know why you would need it. And we do have it for, customers that have a need. And he said, well, we have a Harley club, and we want, a bunch of us want to get a really large space and put our bikes in there. And then when we go out, we just take our bikes and we come back. So I said, yeah, let's give him 24-hour access. This guy, no matter how he looked, he was probably the best security person we ever had, or a customer at the property, because whenever something was weird, he would let us know. He would even write a little note and put it through the message thing to get us, some kind of feedback of so-and-so in 21 was doing something bad. And so we would just look at what was going on and try to find out on the cameras. But it is interesting how you may think sometimes that a person is something that they're not. But you want to be always positive towards customers, or try to, because you want to be service oriented. think about going above and beyond the customer's expectations, because it's interesting to think about this when you think, oh, well, this is all we need to do. Just get them the storage thing, make it easy, whatever. But you want to go beyond that. You don't want to just, you want to have them satisfied and happy and telling other people. That's the way you get new customers without doing a lot of advertising or spending much money. Organizing yourself for success. Sometimes I've thought, well, this person's not so organized, but is the is the problem, because in this business you need to be organized all the time. You need to make customers your priority. You must have your paperwork already ready, get it, everything that you do for a rental, and be organized in your files, and have the rental packages prepared. Be really proficient and be the best you can be. That's what's so good about, trying to learn your job and just do it well, and then trying to go beyond what you know and get even better and better. So there are some things that I believe that you should know as a professional in self-storage, and that would be the roll-up door width, the roll-up door height, and some, I don't know what product you're using, but there's some standard things about self-storage doors if you're using roll-up doors. But again, find out this information, keep it by the computer, keep it wherever you have your pricing. So if a customer says, how wide is that door? You'll know, and you can look it up. And especially when you're training new people, make sure they know all this information. The width of your aisles and your hallways, and the height of the spaces. And look at this hallway. That is huge. That's a really wide hallway. That must be one of their main ones, maybe coming off of an elevator, something like that. But that is a wide hallway, just because you can see the two 5x10s at the, well, or whatever size it is at the end. But again, you also want to know what kind of key changes you have in your disc locks, because you want to make sure you have enough for the number of spaces you have at your store, because otherwise you'll have people with a key that fits somebody else's lock. And the width of the gate opening, the temperature range on your climate controlled or air conditioned spaces and the buildings that you have. So note that information, so if customers ask, you'll have it ready. It helps you make the sale, actually. So, there's some incentives that you can give for people to visit and to rent from you. And there's some concessions and freebies, and I kind of put them in two different categories here. And the concessions, free time, and that may be the second month free, the $1 move-in, the $19 move-in, whatever you decide or whatever you have you're doing. But the discounts on the standard rates, I try to limit those. That is a concession that a lot of managers love to give. But the problem is that they need to have a limit on the length of time for the special, because sometimes they get the special, and then I look and I'm thinking, wait a minute, these people have had this special rate for not just 1 month, but 5 months and 12 months or 6 months. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, why wasn't it just at the very beginning and not go on forever? So, and again, the software can help us do that with the customizing those. Now, freebies, I kind of like to give freebies away too, because that's a way that you can give certain things like $25 off packing and moving supplies. And when you think about that, the customer they think, wow, I get $25 worth of boxes when I got there. But think about that. We only, if we mark something up 100%, that's only like $12.50 that you're actually giving out as a freebie, not the 25. I mean, you could give $50 and you'd only be 25 off of what you're renting, as opposed to giving free time or the second month free. So you're giving something. It doesn't necessarily have to be the reduced rent or some kind of rent concession. So also, as far as you giving free things away, think about, you could give gift cards, you could do promotional items. There's some people that give like a toolkit or a flashlight or some little cute little thing that they give away or they put inside the unit when they get there. Free use of a move-in truck is a great way to get new customers in. And I love the fact, there's one of the trucks that I did the graphics on that one for a store in Los Gatos, Storage. And that truck going around Los Gatos, I think there was one particular month we had 25 people call in from that number, because we do a call tracking number on all our special advertising like that. So we use a special number on that truck, so we know exactly how many people are calling from that number on the truck. And in Los Gatos, I remember I had like 25 in 1 month. I thought, woohoo, that's awesome to get 25 people calling in just from that truck driving around. That's a great use of signage, and yeah, it's really positive. So use those free move-in trucks as an incentive to get people to move in. People love the free move-in trucks. Drive-by visibility. You know, the drive-by visibility of stores, it's so critical. You want to make sure that your property looks good, that and this almost looks like an apartment place from Safekeep there. I think that, you know, but it's beautiful and it would be very attractive, but I don't know that people would know it was storage. The bottom one kind of looks like a home. And, but again, you can, and that one you can see the doors out at the side here. So think about your signage and your visibility. And that's probably the Safekeep why they put that big banner up there, storage units for rent, because it looks like an apartment place, not even a storage place. So remember, you've got to have a good storage sign. It's a good idea to put pennants out, banners out, maybe a clock out by your property or a reader board. People, especially that are driving by, I like to put the curbs white and paint them nicely because then it's attractive and you know where to go into. In fact, I've been really close to another competitor and I painted my curbs white. And so the manager would always say, hey, we're the ones with the white curbs. As you pull in, you can see us and it's easy to get to us. And so it's a great way to get customers to you. Keep it clean and interesting to look at. That's the whole idea about, you know, the look of your product. And change the look on occasion. You may want to put reader signs out, different things out, banners, little flags, anything that you can to get a little extra attention if your city will allow you to do that. Some places are very strict and they're just not very business friendly. So let's talk about the 5 steps to sales success and greeting the customer. You know, it's so important to greet the customer. When you're trying to get a new customer and you're working with them on the phone or in person, if you're talking to them in person, you want to stand to greet them. You want to, you know, even if you're busy with someone else, be sure to make eye contact, wave at them, something so they know that you know that they're there. And get the customer's name and use it during the conversation because you don't want to just go through the whole conversation and then not even, you know, really interact and make a connection with the customer. So during the inquiring stage, you want to be sure to be welcoming and build rapport. Again, that's a small talk. It's talking about your storage property and being careful not to get on other topics because sometimes, in fact, I had an on-site that I did at one of my stores, and the manager asked the customer that was with her. She said, "Hey, do you want a cigarette? Or do you mind if I smoke?" And I was like, "Wow, no, that's a no." You don't smoke in front of the customer, number one. It was nice for her to offer a cigarette, but you know, if people don't like smoke or it just puts them in an awkward position. So remember what you're doing also makes a huge difference. But you want to take that time on the golf cart or when you're taking someone out to show them a space, interact with them. And not about smoking probably, but you want to show them all the features as you go. So as you're going, let's talk about that. Is you want to have a system where you know that your space is going to be clean and ready to rent and that you have the vacancy list with you on the golf cart or when you're walking out to the space. You want to make sure that the customer sees a completely clean, beautiful space. And I have to tell you, I just recently did some on-sites and the door was open. And you know that stuff that comes down from the door when it flips up really, it's that dust and the debris. Well, all of that came running down. But the weird thing is I looked and I'm like, wow, I am sure, I am dead positive that space had not been cleaned in quite some time. And I would say months, if not years. And I was wondering now, wonder why they would show me this one on the back side. And then there were some people that kind of looked like they were living out of their space. And I thought, well, that's really weird. But there were some dead bugs in there, most of them legs up. And I looked and this guy's not saying anything. The manager's not saying a word. He's just sitting there. He said, "What do you think it's going to fit?" And I'm like, "Well, I can't get over all the dirt." I just said, I'm like, because it's true. If I were actually going to put my stuff there, I'd be like, "Oh, no way in heck." I would have thought, you know what? I'd probably just say, you know what, I'm sorry, that's not a good size, and yeah, I'm not interested. I'm looking for something a little cleaner, right? And when I later told him I was mystery shopping him, and I talked to them, he said, yeah, I didn't know it was going to be dirty. Yeah, well, that's a problem to me because you need to know from your vacant space list what is clean and ready to rent. And that means, you or your maintenance person or someone goes out and cleans it and then highlights it saying, these are the spaces that are clean and ready to rent. And that when you open the lock up and you lift the door up, it's going to be clean, because that is critical. Customers do not like to look at dirty spaces, and they may not rent from you either. So let's see. I'm going to go back a second. Sorry. Customers need to see the actual space that they're going to rent. This is interesting because sometimes when I'm auditing, I'll look and I'm like, wow, look at all the transfers. They've had 20 transfers this month. Why would they have so many transfers? So I look, and then I get to the store and start talking to them. Like I said, so, when you open it up, why so many transfers? Oh, customers don't like the location, or, something like that. So I said, but are you showing it first? Well, no, not always. Well, that's the reason. You need to show them the space. Otherwise, they say, hey, I noticed there was another one that was closer to the door. Or, hey, this one is too far away. Could you get me something a little closer? So always show the space. It's just so much easier. You won't have so many complaints or so many transfers. Counseling the customer. You want to take them on that tour, demonstrate the gate and how it works and how the process works, show them that clean space, point out the features and the benefits, and demonstrate how to open the lock and close the lock and put the cylinder locks in, or use your disc lock, or whatever it is. I had a manager one time, and she would sell locks right on the golf cart. She'd have locks that were sealed, and I said, why are you keeping so many locks on the cart? And she said, oh, I'm selling them right on the cart. I said, oh, you are? And then she had scissors right back behind. She had it all organized, a little thing. And she goes, yeah, I'd really like one of those little displays that you put on the cart, and I could show the different locks, and then they could pick which one. And she goes, when they say they want it, I just cut it off and I give them the keys. I show them how to do it. And then that part's all done. I thought, that's genius. She was like 20 years old. She was a manager of a 1,300 unit property, and she was amazing. But every time I found her at a hair place. She was at a hair salon, and she said hello. She made the appointments and stuff like that. And I hired her away from there, because every time I went in there, I bought something and I didn't need anything. And I thought, man, I love this girl. I got to have her. And she was such an amazing manager. And then she had kids and I lost her. So I would love to have her back any day, because she's just an amazing salesperson. But you have to remember, you want to sell customers and think about those constantly. And again, that's locks. Don't sell those cheap locks. Get a high number of key changes. Sell the boxes. If you want to help someone save money, they should be buying boxes, the packing and moving boxes that they can stack up high and utilize the cubic square foot up, and it makes a huge difference. And if it's interesting, because if you go to places where it's really expensive to rent, those spaces are packed and stacked all the way to the ceiling. And that's very true, especially like if you're in Japan, if there any of those countries now are just, those people pack and stack everything. And even in Hawaii, because it was so expensive to rent, when we would open a space to auction it off, it would be full all the way to the front, all the way to the ceiling. And so we sold, most in my store, the one I had showed you earlier, we would do somewhere on average of $5,000 a month in selling packing and moving supplies, but because it was so much per square foot. And remember, so offer a variety of boxes, display them well. Don't put them out in a unit out somewhere and then expect them to sell themselves. Sell those mattress bags, the sofa covers. The more that you have to sell, the more that you will sell, and the more customers will say, oh, this is a great place to go to get stuff. And then you have people coming to get stuff from you when they're doing something else and not even, using storage. And those plastic storage containers are good too. I know some large companies are selling the plastic containers also, because think about it, the boxes get wet, they're a problem, but those plastic storage containers, they're even better. So if you can find those at a really inexpensive price and sell them, that's great too. Invitation to rent and close. You want to make sure you're testing the buyer's temperature. Did you like the 5x10 or that 5x15 better? And offer to hold or reserve a space. What does that hurt? I do that on the phone too. If you've got a lot of something, if you have 100 of something available, why wouldn't you? If you're down to your last one, don't bother. And then tell them that this is my last one. I can't reserve it. If you can come down and get it, or we can do it on the rental on the phone, it'll be yours. You'll secure it. You want to give a sense of urgency for them to rent and to get down there and to get their space. And offer to hold a reserve. It's another great way, because if you can put it on hold or reserve for someone and then call them back and remind them and see where they're at in the process. But you do need to remember asking for the sale. Ask for the sale. Don't be shy about it. And rent over the phone. Now is the time. If you're going to be able to rent over the phone, this is a perfect time. So get out there and learn how to do rentals over the phone. Send the e-signs, get them to e-sign it, DocuSign, however you want to do that, and make it really easy for a customer to rent. The other thing to remember is never stop training. And as many things as I know about self-storage, I think I've probably forgotten more that I really keep in my brain right now. But because the older I get, the harder this gets. I can barely remember what I'm doing well, I do have some interviews today. I do remember that. If you ask me what time, I'm not really sure. But never stop training, because everyone needs a coach. Everyone needs someone to help them, to motivate them, to get them going. And that's why we do these webinars. And we hope that you will like us at the end and subscribe and whatever, because we keep doing these and somehow it feeds my ego. I like to, because I'm trying to get more subscribers than my son, which is sad that I don't even have as many as my son has. It's just crazy. But training really keeps you motivated. And think about that, because you want to keep your skill level up. And even though you probably know everything I talked in here about today, but when you hear it again, you think, oh yeah, I should do that. Yeah, I'm kind of not doing that as much now as I used to do. So think about that. You need to practice, and really, if you want to be perfect or great at something, you want to keep it going and have some repetition with it and get feedback on improving. And especially on the phone. The phone is so critical, and selling on site is critical. And if you want to be good at something, you just have to keep doing it over and over again. And remember, we have a mystery shopping service. It really does give you the competitive advantage over your customers. You maintain that learned sales and customer service behavior. We even tell you things that you need to improve on and have little snippets that you can learn. Say, if I missed this part, okay, how do I do that? And then you see a little video of me telling you how to do something. So you want that monthly feedback of how to improve your employees' sales skills. It's important. And remember, we also do a recording of the sales call, and we have these sales videos that we do to improve your sales and customer service, because all of this is important in being great at self-storage, and it never stops. I know when I first started doing the mystery shopping, I was like, I don't this guy said, listen, the only way you're going to maintain a trained behavior is to keep evaluating it and keep a focus on it. And that's what mystery shopping does. So remember, be confident, love your job. I absolutely love being in self-storage. I enjoy going to work pretty much every day. A few days, Desiree's on the other end listening to this and editing this, and she's probably going to go, oh, no, she doesn't. She complains about it because it gets crazy. And self-storage does get crazy, but it's a weird kind of cool crazy. So, and keep working on your sales and service skills, and we want to help you. And I would love any feedback, any ideas that you want in a webinar, anything that we can do to help you, we will do that. And always try to please the customer, because that's what's so important, and it makes your job more fun when it's and I have to say, this has got to be the weirdest business ever, the things that we see, and it is amusing, and it kind of keeps it lively and sort of fun. That's the way I look at it. So feel free to go to our SkilCheck YouTube training site, and please subscribe and like and share. See, this is from my son. He goes, Mom, you got to tell everybody to subscribe. You're not telling anyone to subscribe. You're not doing yourself any good. So there it is. But I wanted to show you some, because I did one a webinar on COVID-19 practices. And one of the most I thought that was kind of crazy that people loved was the brilliant things to do when things are slow, or when there's nothing to do. What do you do? Because that happens sometimes. It's like, well, yeah, there's nothing happening today. It's so slow, and that certainly that goes on. It happens for sure. And another COVID-19, talking about late and lean sale questions that people had asked. Also sales strategies when you're full, and selling and great voice techniques, which is kind of cool. And handling customer objections, that can be difficult, right? And one from my daughter, Alex Storage Rules. She's in self-storage. She's 18 now, and she works at the store that I started with and another store up in Phoenix, Arizona. And she's learning a lot about self-storage. She does not work for me, however, just so you know. Uh, but she called one day and she was all on fire, and she was telling me all this is what people should know about doing things. So that you're going to find that in Alex's Storage Rules. So take a listen to that because I think you'll like it. And please, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. You can contact me at carol@skillcheck.com, and that's 1-800-374-7545. And thank you for listening, and happy renting.